Fighting Temptation. Do y'all remember this movie right here? It came out back in like 2003. So for like, depending upon how old you are, you might have been born at that time. I don't know. But I know for me, that was, I can't remember if it came out earlier 2003 or later 2003. But when I went to try to find this image, it said released in 2003. So either I was like at the end of 10th grade or like going into the 11th grade. But I remember when this movie came out, and I remember watching it and thinking like, how corny is this? Like, how corny is this? Like, this is one of those movies where it's like, it's so bad, you can't turn away. And even though the movie overall had like a good message, just the deliverance was, man, I can't describe it. It was just bad. It was bad. But I sat there and I watched it anyways. And when they get to the very end of the movie, and this is not going to be like a spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen it. If you want to check it out, go check it out. If you literally have absolutely nothing better to do with your time. But there's a scene at the end when they get to like the final, competition, and this song plays. Now I'm going to play a small clip of it, and I'm probably going to get like copyright and all that. But at this point, like, I really don't care. There's a part at the end of the movie where this song plays.
Took me a while, but I'm finally here. So I just wanna testify, make it crystal clear. See, I've been picked out to be picked on, talked about out my friend's mouth. I've been beat down till you turn my life around.
And even at that time, being a child, still being a teenager, not really having like any kind of life experience, or at least not the amount that I have today, that song brought me to tears. It brought me to tears, specifically the part where he goes like, talked about out my friend's mouth. But I had good friends growing up. Even being a military brat and having to move a lot, I still had good friends growing up. Like, I was always able to like pick out just a few. Like, I never needed to be popular. Never needed to be popular. I always had the ability to pick out 2 or 3 good friends. I mean, good, genuine people. And that was like all I ever needed. It was all I ever needed. So replace the friends part with talked about out my fam's mouth. Replace that with family. And like, something about that really hit hard for me. Now, I'm not going to pinpoint anyone out specifically, although not that you won't know exactly who I'm talking about when I say this, because it's not like my comment sections are booming. And by the way, thank you to all the new subscribers. That was so dope. It's always the videos. Like, I had another video that got to like 700 views last time I looked. And it's always the ones that I like don't really plan on making. Like, I have the dream and I'm like not sure about, or I don't really plan on making, or I end up making it, just because, that get the most views. And that's like odd to me, right? But thank you to all my new subscribers. But somebody commented on the previous video that I just uploaded and said that God's a liar. And that comment just, I'm hoping it was a mistype. I'm hoping it was a mistype, because it felt so weighted. It felt so weighted. And so I'm not a Tyler Perry fan at all. Like, not even in the slightest, right? His movies also are corny to me, but the bad guy, he just, tries too hard when it comes to like the bad guy, and then like the good guy savior. He tries too hard for me, just doesn't do it for me. But there's one, and I don't even know which one it is. They all to me kind of seem the same. But there's one where Medea makes like this speech where she's like, I'm too old to be letting like a lot of nonsense in my life. Like, I'm too old to be surrounded by a whole lot of people. She mentioned something, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't know specifically word for word, but she mentioned something where she is like, I'd rather be that old woman living alone surrounded by like 12 cats than to let somebody come up in my life with a bunch of chaos. And for some reason, I'm feeling like reiterating that is necessary at this moment. I've mentioned this in other videos, and if you're a newer subscriber, of course you wouldn't know that, but I hate that whole, or I strongly dislike, I really shouldn't use the word hate. Ooh, a lot of police cars up here, an ambulance, there was an accident. I see a lot of young kids. I hope nothing too bad. Ooh. Okay, her tail end of her car smashed and it's not too bad. She definitely walked away from that, so that's good. But anyways, I'm not a big fan of that like whole sentiment that life isn't fair, because it's really people that make it that way. It's people that make it that way, you know? And I'm not here to speculate, you know what I mean? I don't know the specific circumstances of anyone's situation, and I'm not here to speculate, and I'm certainly not here to shift blame. But a lot of times we'll like blame God for the circumstances that we're in. And like I said, I'm not here to blame anyone, but we don't take responsibility for our own actions and the role that we had to play. That was one of the biggest parts for me about opening that door to spirituality, that emotional release. And like I'm getting like a strong feeling that like the person who wrote that comment, you need an emotional release, and you need it like bad. God has a plan for us, and I wholeheartedly believe that. I don't know what your personal spiritual beliefs are, and I'm definitely not here to make anyone believe as I believe. You know, I'm not here for any of that. But I do believe wholeheartedly that God has a purpose for all of us. I believe that we're spiritual beings down here to have an earthly experience, and we came down here for a specific path and a specific purpose, you know? And I think the bigger problem of that is that sometimes we lose sight of that. We lose sight of that, and that's easy to do. You know, I'm not blaming anyone for losing. You know, I'm gonna take a quick like break real quick because I feel the need to say this. I remember being younger and being a people watcher. I remember being a people watcher. Like, I remember being a child and something simple as like going to the grocery store. I used to love to people watch, like not in like a nosy way, but just because I just was genuinely interested in why people did the things that they did. You know what I mean? Like, why people choose or make the choices that they make. I remember even times like being at the checkout and looking at the person in front of us, or looking at the person behind us, and being like, I wonder when that person goes home, what their home life is like. I remember looking at people and being like, that woman's smile, like this woman looked at me one time and smiled from ear to ear. I'm just this little kid standing there in the grocery store, probably had food stains all over my clothes, I don't know. And I remember this woman looked at me and smiled from ear to ear. And even though she was smiling, I could feel the pain. I could feel the pain. And one of the things that really intrigued me about people was I didn't understand why the people who had the biggest smiles and why the people who always seemed to be the nicest always felt like there was so much pain emanating from them. Now, fast forward growing up, fast forward through high school, all this stuff. I get to college. I'm trying to pick a major. And everything in me was like, yo, choose psychology. Choose psychology. Choose psychology. But then my mom, for whatever reason, was strongly against psychology. And I'm not here to bash my mom. I literally just stopped by her house because she made me lunch to take to work tonight, because she knows I've been trying to eat healthier. And if I don't pre-take something, I'm going to end up buying junk when I get there, because the only thing open at night is the grill. So I'm not here to bash my mom at all. You know, she feels the way she feels about things, and that's okay. But my mom was strongly against psychology, because she's like, if you get a degree in psychology, what are you going to do with that? If you don't plan on being a psychologist and going all the way through, and being a doctor, being a psychologist, then what's the point? And me not having done any sort of research whatsoever in the slightest, I'm thinking, yeah, that's true. Maybe I shouldn't go that path. Not knowing that getting a degree in psychology can lead to all sorts of different avenues. It could have led to all sorts of different avenues where I could work with people the way that I had always been interested in. But instead, I chose with my strengths. This is why I'm still ended up in healthcare, but I'm on a different avenue, I'm working with people in a physical sense, when what I really want to do is I want to get inside your head, and I want to work with you. I want to know what's going on in your mind, but it's all good. Sometimes, and I say that to say, I lost sense of my purpose. I knew what my passion was since a child. And for anyone who's out there who's like, oh, I'm having trouble discovering what my passion is, people keep saying, go for your passion and make it a career. Go for your purpose and make it a career. The easiest way that I can tell anyone to do that is to think about what you were interested in as a child. Think about even that little girl as a child that was like, oh, I want to be president. If you were saying as a child you wanted to be president, baby, look into politics, because that might be for you. And the way that we're going right now, we need some good, decent politicians, because what we have right now is just crap. But I digress. It is not God's fault that our life takes a turn, because when we are co-creators of our destiny. We are co-creators. We have something that's called free will. And like I said, at no point am I trying to shift blame or blame anyone, because there are some people who just get brought into a bum deal. There are some people that as children you have absolutely no control. I'm sorry, my alarm went off. I always do the Ganesha mantra before I go into work, because I work in healthcare, because I work in a hospital, and the environment that I'm stepping into. I always do the Ganesha mantra before I step into the doors of the hospital. But anyways, there are some people that, like, if you get dealt kind of like a bad deal as a child, you don't have any sort of say or control over the environment that you're in. But let's fast forward to adulthood, and for some people, if you had a rough childhood, it is going to be a lot harder for you. And I acknowledge that. I'm not saying this in a way that I feel like it's just easy for anyone to just jump up and change their life. It's difficult. And I acknowledge that. But can we, as people, acknowledge the fact that the decisions that we make can change our destiny and our outcome? The decisions that we make can change our destiny and our outcome, and we can't blame God for that. My life just got better a few years ago. As a matter of fact, when I started my spiritual journey, that's when my life changed. But it did not happen until I did my emotional release. And I said in a previous video that the one that I was talking about, that toxic family first mentality, it wasn't until, my biggest, when we can talk about, letting family go at another time, but my biggest step in my emotional and my spiritual, awakening was me forgiving myself. forgiving myself for decisions and choices that I had made that had caused my life to get to where it was now. Forgiving other people is a part of it too. You know, I forgave other people that have done things that have done me wrong, but have contributed. But the biggest part of it was really forgiving myself. And then once I did that, I had to relinquish control. I'm like a control freak. I want to control any and everything that has to do with my life. I want to control everything. You know, I'm a type of person where I want to be able, I'm a type of person where I'm like, if something happens, it's going to be because I allowed it to happen or because I wanted it to happen. Like, I really, and I'm not even going to say I wasn't big on change. I grew up a military brat. It's really nothing to me to pick up and move and change environments. I embrace change. But I also wanted to have a certain level of control over it. Excuse me. My words, I kind of slur a little bit sometimes. And it wasn't until I relinquished control that I really started stepping into who I truly was. And I'm in my 30s. If anyone who's new subscriber, new to the channel, I'm 37. I'm 37. So we're talking about a woman in her 30s that is just now stepping into herself. Because who I was up until that point was just a shell of a person. Who I was up until that point was a mask of something that I was pretending to be. I am just now stepping into the person that I am truly meant to be. I am just now stepping into the person that God meant for me to be. No, like I said earlier, I'm not here to excuse anyone. I'm not here to excuse anyone because there were definitely some people who have done things to me that were unnecessary and uncalled for. And the kind of knife in the coffin for me was the fact that the people who were doing these things weren't even like strangers. They were the people who were supposed to have loved and protected me. But there was something about once I relinquished that control, and I let God handle that. And I got to tell you, once I let God have the reins, once I let God take control, when they say he is a wrathful God, a lot of things that people have done to me have been years ago. And that karma is just now circling back. That karma is just now circling back. People who have done me wrong, and, I've talked about this in other videos through dreams that I've had. People that have done me wrong behind bars. People that have done me wrong in the hospitals, hanging on for dear life. People that have done me wrong, homeless, nowhere to go. And a lot of times, like, in order for things to get better, we have to relinquish control, and also we have to move. We have to move. Now, for some people, that may be literally speaking, like physically speaking, but for some people, it may just be metaphorically, like, you got to move out the way. You got to move out the way, because some of these people, you know what I mean? And like I say, like, when I relinquish control, and when I mean by, like, I have to take responsibility, we have to take responsibility for our own decisions and our own actions, I realized that a lot of the hardships that I was facing was because I was continuing to hang on to people who I should have been walked away from and let go of. And once I did walk away, once I did let go, that was when their karma was able to come down. That was when the Almighty was able to do what he really needed to do. But a lot of times it may seem like, everybody around us is this and that, and they're living great and they're living good. A lot of times it's because they're feeding off of your energy. They're feeding off of your good energy. They're stealing from your good karma, actually dharma. But then once you move and you cut these people off and you cut off all ties, you watch how God moves. Watch how God moves is all I can say. As empaths, as me being an empath, we lean heavy on forgiveness. And we tend to want to forgive people. We tend to want to see the best in people. We tend to want to give people second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th chances. But once you truly kind of just step back and look at people for who they truly are, walking away and letting go gets a lot easier. Once you learn to accept people for who and what they truly are, and not for what your idea of what your image of what you want them to be, it is truly easy to step away and let go. I saw this video. I liked it, so I know I can find it. I'm gonna, put a little clip of a short that I saw in here.
By the way, when you've traumatized somebody or hurt them, it usually takes up to 2 years of new consistent behavior before somebody believes you're safe again.
I saw this short today and it really resonated with me. And I'm gonna try this. The family members that I've cut off, I am taking a 2-year hiatus from them. And these people will not be allowed back in my life, in my space, in my area, until they have shown consistent changed behavior, and not just this temporary I'm gonna do better so I can come back in your life and cause a bunch of chaos all over again. I need consistency. So I'm gonna try this, and if this video resonates with you, I suggest you give it a try too. Now, if you happen to be in the type of situation where you rely on family members, you're gonna have to gain a level of independence. And for some reason, I feel, and I'm not here to like bash anyone or talk about anyone or needing help from family. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But for some of us, gaining that level of independence is going to be instrumental. It's going to be a big part of your spiritual release. And like I said, in today's economy, I finally got to work and was able to park. So if it sounds a little bit different, it's because my car is not moving anymore. But in today's economy, I understand that is not going to be an easy thing to do, as, everything continues to increase. We are at a time where people are going to have to start leaning on each other. So if that's a difficult thing for someone to do, then maybe find a family member or even a friend. I've known friends who have moved in together and been roommates and helped each other out. Like, two friends that either are both single, or two friends that both have children that have kind of been their own support system. So you can lean on trusted friends as well. But for some reason, I'm getting like a sense that gaining a certain level of independence so that you have the ability to walk away from these people, because as long as we're dependent upon the people who are causing chaos in our life, we're going to forever feel like we're in that, we're in that hole that we just can't get out of, right? I've finally got to work now and I have to get in so that I'm not late. I guess I've pretty much said everything that I need to say, but I have a strong feeling that the person who wrote that comment, you need an emotional release. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Reiki, or if you're into that sort of thing, but Reiki would be a good thing for you to try. If you're not really into like certain spiritual things, because I would suggest getting like spiritual counseling. But if you're not into that sort of thing, then in Reiki, maybe just going to like an actual counselor if you don't already do that. But there's something heavy, that you are holding on to, that you need to release so that you can see how God is really about to move in your life. But y'all, let me get into this hospital. And that's going to be the message for today. Thank you for listening. Bye.